Alright, imagine this. You sit in a cafe, for example, you order a coffee, and the barista, for example, smiles and says, like, hey, today's like your lucky day. The cookie is on the house. But you did not ask for it, you didn't expect it, but something weird happens in your brain. Now you suddenly feel a little nicer toward that cafe when the tip jar appears, your hand moves almost automatically, and you didn't plan it, but your brain did. And that, my friend, is exactly the kind of psychological trick Susan Weinschenk, like the author of this book, is talking about in this book, which is called How to Get People to Do Stuff. And now, before someone screams like manipulation, you gotta relax because this book is not about evil mind control. It's about understanding how the human, for example, the human brain actually works. Because here's the another truth: most of our decisions are not rational. Your brain, basically lazy animal wearing a suit. We like to imagine ourselves as these hyperlogical creatures who carefully weigh pros and cons before acting. But neuroscience says something else entirely. Most of our behavior runs on a few hidden motivational engines, almost like autopilot system inside the brain. And author of this book calls them a seven drives. And once you see them, you start noticing them everywhere. In marketing, for example, and all in politics, in friendships, in negotiations, and even in everyday conversations. So let's start with the first one, and honestly, it's probably the most powerful. Humans have a deep, biological need to belong, to someone else or to something, and not just socially, but biologically. Your brain literally treats social rejection the same way it treats physical pain. And if you feel excluded from group, the brain reacts almost like you just touched a hot stove. And that's why we put people in prison. We're not torturing them because this is kind of like a social isolation, the most powerful punishment, which explains a lot about human behavior. Why people wear certain clothes, why people copy slang, why teenagers suddenly start acting like identical clones of each other. And it's not stupidity, it's survival programming in order to show to our other one, hey, I'm like you, let's be friend. So, and thousands of years ago, being rejected by your tribe meant one thing, yeah. You were probably going to die alone in the woods, and evolution instilled a pretty intense alarm system in our brains: fit in or else. And that's why one of the most powerful persuasion tricks is incredibly simple. Show people that other people are already doing the thing you want them to do. In other words, instead of begging to do what you want them to do, you can fake it that maybe it's really happening, that it's actually some people do this shit. So I guess the point is that person will think, if other people do it, maybe I also will do whatever he or she asking me, and that's it. And this is called like social proof, especially I guess in terms of horrible shit. If it's like one person, it's like one context. But if that person see that other people do the same shit, he will think like I'm just following orders, World War II vibe. And if you ever like seen something like, for example, over 2 million people already use this app, or like best-selling product, or everyone is talking about it, it's already anchoring you, framing you that all people do that stuff, you gotta do this too. And that's not just like marketing fluff, that's directly pressing to that biological part of you. Your mind basically says, well, if everyone else is doing it, it must be safe. And your brain, loves this kind of shortcuts like that. Another fascinating thing the book talks about is about habits. And here's something slightly disturbing. A huge percentage of what you do every day is not like really decision. It's just habit loops running in the background. In other words, you're more running on autopilot rather than solving constantly new problems. Like how you brush your teeth, for example, how you check your phone, or how you walk into your kitchen and open the fridge even though you're not hungry. And that's the brain trying to conserve energy. And because thinking is expensive, your brain burns like a crazy amount of calories when it has to like actively decide something. That's why it's way easy to be lazy. So it prefers automation. And habits are basically little mental programs. And once installed, they ran out without like asking permission. This is why casinos are so dangerous. By the way, they understand this kind of like habit loops better than almost anyone, because slot machines use what like psychologists call variable rewards. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And actually, the social media algorithm work the same way. Where like now, for example, you see fun content, next you see horrible content, and it's constantly playing with your emotions, dopamine, and yeah, like subconsciously, the moment when you see like on social media something interesting or funny, it is like a casino effect. You get rewarded, and unpredictability is like rocket fuel for dopamine. That's why people keep pulling the lever again and again. The brain says maybe the next one, but spoiler alert, the casino always wins. And now it's like, yeah, if we continue the analogy with the social media, you think you're going to use it for 5 minutes, but after you find out that it's already 35 days and you're in a jungle. So yeah, it's the same, they're following the same principles to hook you. And now here's another fascinating driver from the book. It's about stories. Humans don't just think in facts, we think in narratives. And that's why if you want to convince someone, instead of saying like a raw facts or data, it's better to say in storytelling way, like my friend did this and now like blah blah blah. And everyone, every person walking around right now has a little movie playing inside their head about like who they are. For example, one could say, I'm the hardworking one, or like, I'm the rebellious one, I'm smart one, I'm the unlucky one. And here's like a key insight. People behave in ways that match the story they believe about themselves. If someone, for example, believes they are a healthy person, they start making healthier choices. In other words, it shows that importance of your belief system. If your belief system fucked up, there is no surprise that your life is fucked up. And if someone, for example, believes they are like a generous person, they can donate more. Or like someone like a clever persuasion trick is simply helping, like for example, people step into like a certain identity. Instead of saying like, for example, please recycle, you can say be a recycler. In other words, you're not just asking do stuff, but you framing that person, like that action, to that person's identity. Like I don't know, you're the person who like not just cleaning your trash, but removing your trash, but you're the person who worrying about ecology, that kind of stuff. And you can see the difference, right? One is about action, the other is about identity. And identity is powerful. Another, for example, big driver the book talks about is something psychologists call reciprocity, or in a plain English, if someone, for example, gives you something, you feel weird if you don't give something back. It's like Don Corleone vibe. You like you first help someone, and after it's way easier to ask some help back, because that person subconsciously think like I owning him, I get like a so-called debt, I get paid back, instead of like directly asking to do something. And that's why restaurants sometimes bring free bread to the table, or like or why charities send you free address labels in the mail before asking for donation. Or at the street they can like some people trick you with giving something for free, and after like what a surprise, they asking you to donate for something. And your brain quietly whispers, well, they did something for me. So right now, imagine using that in everyday life. Let's say you want someone to help you with a project, or like most people go straight to the request. But a smarter move is to help them first. You can send them a useful article, or you can give them a tip, solve like a small problem for them. Now you created that psychological momentum, and when you, for example, ask later, the brain is already leaning toward yes. In other words, it's way harder to say no once you already help it to someone. And here's one of my favorite tactics from the book, because it feels almost like social aikido. It's called rejection, then retreat. For example, you ask something big first, something they will probably refuse. Then you step back and ask for something smaller, the thing you actually wanted. Like typical, I guess, Trump move, when like he put like I don't know what a 50% tariff, and after okay, like whatever, like let's down this to 30%. Suddenly, the smaller request feels reasonable. It's because it works on a contrast. And maybe you even didn't need the first request, and your goal was actually the second request. And your brain compares this like it to the big one and thinks, oh, that's not so bad, and it's clever little like mental illusion. And the book also dives into like this kind of something fascinating about mirror neurons. Your brain automatically imitates like the behavior of people around you. For example, if someone yawns, you also yawn. If someone smiles, you feel better. And if someone is excited, the energy spreads. In other words, if you want to like get some vibe or emotion from someone else, instead of waiting that vibe, like I don't know, being positive to you, you gotta be positive first, and it's like a virus spreads, and they're also gonna be approach you the same way. In other words, you gotta be the first source, because emotion is contagious. And that's why like passion speakers are so powerful. It's not just the words; their energy literally spreads through the room, which leads to very practical insight. If you want people to care about something, you better look like you care about it first. A bored messenger never delivers a powerful message. Another interesting point the book makes is about mastery. People love getting better at things not because of money, not because of rewards, but because the brain enjoys the feeling of improvement. Like think about video games. Players spend hours repeating the same level again and again. Why? Because each time they get slightly better, and that progress creates a powerful sense of satisfaction. And this is why good systems like apps or like learning platforms, even workplaces, show people their progress. And this progress equals motivation. It's like a fuel. And finally, the book talks about one of the strangest quirks of the brain, that your mind loves simple stories that make sense, even if they're not entirely true. We hate uncertainty. We prefer like a clean explanation over complicated reality, which is why persuasive messages are often simple, emotional, and memorable. Yeah, it's like a typical propaganda rule, even though it's a BS. But if you keep repeat that simple message over and over, people after a while will start to believe this shit. Because the brain likes things it can process quickly. So the big takeaway from like this whole book is actually pretty humbling. Human behavior is not controlled by the rational, captain sitting in the brain. It's more like a committee, like of ancient instincts, habits, emotions, and like social pressures all voting at the same time. Sometimes logic wins, but most of the time, you already know the answer. The autopilot wins. And once you understand that, something interesting happens. You start noticing these patterns everywhere in advertisement, in politics, in business deals, and even in casual conversation. So kind of you cracking the code, and you giving the right input to get the right output. The funny part is once you see the system, it's hard to unsee it. You watch, for example, someone use social proof. You notice reciprocity being triggered. You see identity being shaped. and part of your brain quietly smiles and say, "Ah, nice move." Human psychology is a strange game, but learning the rules makes the game a lot easier to play.